Good morning, everybody. Welcome back from Someone Scott Selections here for Saturday, December 11th. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap. What happened yesterday? We ended up having a nice winner in college basketball with Vanderbilt team total under 64.5 at minus 120 on DraftKings. Said in the video that I thought Vanderbilt would have a hard time reaching 60 against this elite Loyola defense that also plays at a snail's pace, and that's exactly what happened. Vanderbilt only scored in the 50s, and we ended up cashing a nice, easy winner. So look for another winner here on Saturday, but I mentioned in the joint video that I was going to make a UFC video, so here we are now, and that is going to be in, of course, UFC 269, which is going to be a very solid card involving two title fights. You have Pena versus Nunes, and you have Poirier versus Oliveira, and we're going to talk about one of those fights, in addition to one prelim fight that I enjoy. Going to be the same format that we usually do. I'm going to go through whatever plays I like on particular fights in chronological order, and then we'll work our way to the finish line. So there's going to be one prelim fight, and I have two plays on the Poirier fight, so I'll get through them right now. So starting off with the prelim fight that I like, it's going to be between two women in the flyweight division, between Maverick and Blanchfield. Maverick is the current favorite at around minus 135. However, I actually like the underdog in this fight. I like Blanchfield to win by decision at plus 215 on Bet Online. Time recording of 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Couple reasons why I like Blanchfield in this fight. First of all, she's extremely young, 22 years old. She's a phenom, though, did very well in Invicta, and she's being built up to be a serious title contender in the immediate future. Now, that's not just me saying that. The fact of the matter is, this is her second career fight in the UFC, and she was scheduled to fight Macy Barber. Now, Macy Barber is a pretty well-known female fighter. She was getting a lot of title buzz about a year or two ago before she suffered an ACL injury and lost a couple of times. But the point is that Macy Barber is a pretty well-known fighter in the weight class, and the fact that Blanchfield was already scheduled to fight her makes it seem like Dana White and company know exactly what the sky's the limit with her. And I do think that she's going to live up to some of those expectations on Saturday. Now, Maverick is actually filling in for Barber in this fight. Now, Barber ended up getting injured, and Maverick's taking over. Now, Maverick did have about a month of notice to actually prepare, so it's not like a 1 week situation where they're scrambling. But the point is that she wasn't scheduled to fight. Now she is. I do question how that's going to impact Maverick's training, since she was fighting a little bit sooner than expected in this upcoming matchup. Now, Maverick, of course, is talented. Of course she is, but I'm looking at the situation of Blanchfield being potentially better in almost every area. Now, I do think that Blanchfield has a lot of advantage on the ground. She's known for being a pretty elite jiu-jitsu artist, and I do think that Maverick's defense is good enough to not get submitted, but I do think Blanchfield should be able to get it to the ground with her wrestling and change levels, which will really help her in these 3 rounds. But to go through the actual outcomes for these fighters, each of Blanchfield's last 2 fights have gone to decision, and 3 of Maverick's last 4 fights have gone to decision. This fight to go to decision is about minus 250 or so, so I'm going to go ahead and find one of the fighters to win by decision at a pretty solid price. I think this fight's closer to pick'em, and I think that with Blanchfield and her, really just her upside, I do think she has a good chance of getting the job done here. So I'll take her by decision at plus 215 on Bet Online. Now, starting off with the actual play from the main event before I get into a prop, it's going to be on the distance in this Poirier-Oliveira fight. I'm taking Poirier and Oliveira fight to not reach the 3rd round. In other words, the 3rd round not to start prop at minus 105 on DraftKings. Couple reasons why I expect this fight to end relatively early. Main reasons, both these fighters really love confrontation. They're not afraid to stand in front of each other. They're not afraid to really just lay it all on the line. And I do think you're going to see an absolute slugfest take place for the first 10 minutes, which will probably be the only 10 minutes you need for this fight. Now, Oliveira is, of course, the champion after beating Chandler for the vacant belt. However, besides winning by 2nd round knockout, he also got absolutely rocked in the 1st round, and he almost got knocked out. So you have seen time and time again, Oliveira is a little bit prideful in the stand-up, which could hurt him because he tries to stand directly in front of opponents with solid power, and Chandler almost took his head off. He responded quite nicely and won the fight, but I do think he will definitely enjoy exchanging with Poirier in the center, which might lead to a couple of knockdowns and a knockout, etc. But on top of that, Chandler is a solid wrestler, which was why Oliveira didn't really decide to take him to the ground. Poirier, I do think, has some issues when it comes to his A, takedown defense, and B, his submission defense. And I do think that Oliveira will use that to switch up his game plan for this title fight and try to take it to the ground sooner rather than later. Now, Oliveira, I mentioned before, might try it in the stand-up, and he might get rocked. He might rock Poirier. But if it goes to the ground, I'm really not sure if Poirier is going to get up. Now, you're looking at the actual just accolades that Oliveira has. He's a third-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he has 19 career wins by submission. To be honest, you should probably round it up to 20 because anybody not named Tony Ferguson would have easily tapped to that arm bar the last when they ended up fighting. So Oliveira is an absolute menace on the ground, and I really have questions if Poirier will be able to avoid just the slick transition game of Oliveira on the ground, which could lead to an early submission stoppage as well. So the point is, there's really a lot of ways this fight could end early. Poirier could end up rocking Oliveira. Oliveira could end up rocking Poirier, or Oliveira can take it to the ground and win by submission. But I do think that this fight will end pretty quickly, a very rapid pace where both fighters are going to be laying it on the line, taking some chances, and I do think this fight will end pretty quickly in a very entertaining but short-lived fight. So I like fight to not reach the third round at minus 105 on DraftKings, and the big boy bet of the actual card going to be a prop on Fox Bet. It's going to be for 3.5 units, so I'm taking it pretty seriously. It is Poirier under 1.5 takedowns at minus 175 on Fox Bet. Now, I know that sounds a bit juicy, but think about it conceptually. It should be a lot higher because I just mentioned how Oliveira is a third-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with 19 wins by submission. And we know that Poirier has some wrestling talent, but he's mostly a stand-up guy. My question for you, why the hell would Poirier try to take this fight to the ground? It doesn't make any sense. It would go against everything that his strategy should dictate. Poirier wants to stand in the middle, use some leg kicks to slow down Oliveira's speed, and probably take his head off. That's going to be his goal, because if it goes to the ground, he has problems. So why would Poirier do Oliveira a favor by taking him to the ground? It doesn't make any sense. I expect Poirier to be aware of that. We saw him have some success in the takedown department against McGregor, but that's because McGregor is awful on the ground, which is why Poirier did it. But we know Oliveira is the opposite, so I do think Poirier will try to keep it standing. 1.5 takedowns, I'm not sure he's going to even attempt one, and I do think that 175 should easily be in the 250s, maybe even 300s, because I'm not sure how Poirier is going to attempt 2 takedowns in this spot unless he gets absolutely rocked and starts desperately trying to get something. But 175, sure, I'll lay that juice all day, every day, because it doesn't make any sense for Poirier to go over. So, once again, those 3 plays are going to be on Blanchfield to win by decision at plus 215 on Bet Online. Poirier-Oliveira fight to end before the start of the third round at minus 105 on DraftKings, and Poirier under 1.5 takedowns for 3.5 units at minus 175 on Fox Bet. So, hopefully we cash all 3, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.